Ralph Anthony Garcia, also known as R4. The legal, the loyal, the regal, the royal, Ronin Ralph, your master of ceremonies. Please like, share, comment, join, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tune in to TURN, the United Ronin Networks. We are Ronin. On today's edition of Ralph Reads, I read you yet another short story before the year's end. This one's called Heavy on My Education, subtitled Negative versus Positive. A Respect My Mind production presentation written by Calvin Jones Jr. Something's got to give. This can't be the way we live. We need love and positivity in excess. Let the reading commence. Negative.
What's up?
N said to his friend P.
Let's go to the arcade and play games.
Positive.
I'll have to meet you there later, but now I'm about to go home and feed my dog and my mom's fishes and do my homework.
P replied to N. Negative.
Homework?
N said as if the word left a nasty taste in his mouth. Positive. Looking at N as if he were an alien, P said,
Well, yeah, because every time I make honor roll, everybody in my family gives me money, and even my church family too.
Negative.
You go to church too?
N asked, as if P had done lost his mind. Positive.
If you knew like I know, you would go too.
P remarked defensively. Negative.
Nobody wants to be around all them old folks catching no Holy Ghost.
N said, and had a small laugh attack at his own little joke. Positive. Shaking his head in disbelief, P said,
Kids our age be at church too.
Negative.
So not cool and extra lame.
N said, Positive.
What's not cool about establishing a relationship with the Creator?
P asked. Negative.
Man, my mom and dad created me, silly.
And looked at P as if he should have already known that. Positive. Looking at his watch, P seen that he was 10 minutes off schedule from his home from school routine, quote unquote. But he didn't mind at all, because he had just made up his mind that he was about to help N find favor in sight of the Creator and save his young soul from the inappropriate teachings of the Destroyer, better known as Satan. Reaching into his side pocket of his book bag, he fished out a small spiritual-induced booklet and held it out to his friend.
Just do me a favor, if you're really my friend. Read this 10-page booklet right quick, and I'll go to the arcade with you right now.
P asked confidently. Negative. As he took the booklet in his hand and looked at it for a total of 4 seconds before he said,
Man, I'd rather find Nemo.
He was referring to the animated movie Finding Nemo.
Than to find Christ,
he remarked as he frisbee-tossed the booklet into P's chest. Positive. Not liking the hold that Satan had over his friend's mind and heart, P took a deep breath as he started to pray for his friend.
To the Father of all on earth, please, I beg you, I beg you, our Heavenly Father, please grant my dear friend the strength and courage to overthrow the hold that Satan has on him, so we can have...
P's prayer was cut short by the rough push to his chest by the hands of N, causing him to stumble backwards and fall. Negative. Laughing uncontrollably at his misdeeds of a work and the look upon P's face, N said,
Don't nobody want to hear all that. There is not any God. Get that through your brain, because if there were a God, your dad would not be dead and mine wouldn't be serving the rest of his life in prison.
N barked as he turned and walked away. Positive. Quickly getting to his feet, P rushed over to N and jumped in front of him and said,
I know and you know that tomorrow is not promised. So for the sake of your soul and our friendship, please, please let me finish my prayer for you and your soul. And I will be on my way, and I'll meet up with you later at the arcade.
Negative. Chuckling to himself as he shook his head in disgust, N just turned and walked away from P and their friendship. Later that day, As the Creator looked upon N heading into the arcade, he said to his angels, "Which one of you want the task of trying to redeem this kid?" Angel, "I'll go," an angel said, and just like that, the angel was at the arcade watching N and the setup of the place. And when he seen that N was on his way to the change machine, the angel went and held his hand over the dollar slot, preventing the dollar from going in. Negative. Taking and straightening out the dollar for the fourth time, N tried to insert it again before giving up and heading to the counter to get change. Angel. Seeing that N was heading to the cash register, he went and entered the body of the teenage girl behind the counter, who was chewing gum and reading a magazine. Negative.
"Excuse me,"
N said in a rude tone.
"I need change for $1,
he said as he handed her the dollar. Cashier. Taking the dollar, the cashier pushed a couple of buttons on the register, and after it opened, she placed the dollar in its allotted slot and then grabbed a handful of quarters, about 20 of them, and handed them to the kid. Negative. Eyes opening wide, and just looked as he tried to recall if that was a $1 bill he had given her or a 5, because he was sure it had been a dollar bill. Cashier. Recognizing the quote-unquote look, the cashier said,
"Don't thank me, thank God."
Negative.
"Yeah, whatever,"
And mumbled under his breath, then said loud enough to be heard,
"Just thank him for me."
he said as he walked off. Cashier.
"Wait."
The cashier said, and when the kid turned to look at her, she seen that he had an irritated look upon his face. Disregarding the quote-unquote look, she said,
"If you don't mind, will you please pray with me?"
she asked, and held out her hand. Negative. Hesitating just a beat, he was about to make a smart remark, but instead he said,
"I really must get going,"
he said as he turned and walked away. After a few steps, he turned around and said,
"Maybe next time,"
and rushed to one of the car racing games. 2 hours later. Positive. P had just finished his homework, and he was about to go out into his backyard where his mom's was tending to her garden to let her know that he was about to go to the arcade and he will be back home by 8 p.m. P's mother.
"You're not going anywhere if you haven't finished your homework, mister."
Positive.
"I finished, and I fed my dog and your fish."
P let it be known as he stood straight and saluted his moms. P's mother.
"At ease, soldier."
She said in a joyful manner, and added,
"But you're still not going anywhere."
She shot back. Positive.
"Oh, Mom, why not?"
P's mother.
"Because you cannot leave without giving me a hug and a kiss and reassuring me that you're coming back."
She said. She stood, taking off her gardening gloves, and hugged her son tight. Positive. Hugging his moms, he kissed her on the forehead and said,
"I'll be back by 8 sharp. Scout's honor."
Then he stood straight and saluted her again. P's mother. Chuckling, she said,
"So I'm assuming that if I do not say, 'At ease, soldier,' you're going to have to stay like that until I do, right?"
Positive.
Unless I have to sneeze.
He shot back and faked a sneeze, and they both started laughing. P's mother.
All right now, go on and play them games that get more of your time than me.
She said, and made a sad face. Positive.
Oh, look at the little baby.
He entertained his moms. He had noticed, and did not mind at all, that since his father's death, she had become a bit protective and wanted him to stay at home or be with her.
I'll be back and cook hamburger helper tonight if you don't mind.
P's mother.
And what if I do mind?
She asked playfully. Positive.
Well, I'm not cooking, so I cannot be choosy. But unless you want me to starve, you will cook anything but vegetables.
P's mother.
Veggies it is.
She sang and laughed. Positive.
I love you, Ma.
P said, laughing at his mom's humor. P's mother.
I love you too, son.
She said.
Be safe and hurry back.
Meanwhile, paramedic. We're losing him! We're losing him! The paramedic screamed as he added more voltage to the shockers and rubbed them together and placed them on the kid's chest as the kid's body contracted to the electric voltage. Removing the shockers, the paramedic put his fingers over the kid's nose and attempted another go at CPR as all of his colleagues stood silently praying for the poor kid who had suffered a massive asthma attack and was now unconscious. Positive. As P walked down the street 2 blocks from the arcade, he could see that whatever happened, it happened at the arcade. Speeding up his pace a little bit, he silently prayed for whoever may be the recipient of all the commotion. Negative. N stood around looking at the commotion. He could not see much, for the crowd bunched together. Some bystanders were talking and some were crying. When he seen a familiar face, P peeking through the crowd, trying also to see who the victim was. P! N hollered over the noise of the crowd, loud enough for P to have heard him. But P showed no signs of acknowledgement. So N walked over and stood behind P and said, I have a lot of quarters, P. But there still were no signs of acknowledgement. And just when N was about to push P for ignoring him, P pushed through the crowd, screaming and started crying. Positive. P had only caught a glimpse of the person who was the recipient of all the commotion when the woman who was in front of him passed out when the paramedic yelled, It's no use! The paramedic sounded defeated. We lost him! And that's when P had gotten a glimpse at his friend N, and he had pushed through the crowd of onlookers screaming,
No! No! That's my friend! Let me pray for his soul!
He was crying as the policemen caught hold of him before he had broken the do not cross line.
Let me go, mister! Please! If I don't pray for my friend's soul, he's going to hell!
P struggled against the policeman's grip. Officer. He's gone, kid. The officer held P. His soul had already left. Negative. N had been there throughout the whole ordeal, but was overly confused as to why no one seemed to be paying him any attention. And when the paramedic man pulled the sheet from over the person's head, N's mouth fell open and his eyes went wide with fear as he looked at P, put his right hand on the kid's forehead, who looked so much like himself. They could have been twins, and P was crying and mumbling something about, please God this, and please God that, and save his soul this, and save his soul that. Then N heard an eerie voice from behind him, and he turned to see what it was. And without a shadow of a doubt, he knew that this thing was none other than the devil. Devil. Come on, let me show you your new home, the devil said as he stepped aside and swung his right hand to present a big, black, bottomless pit. Negative.
Oh, God, no.
And cried as he knew now that it was too late. He tried to turn and run, but his legs became noodle-like, and as he fell, he tried to use his arms to pull himself away from the devil and this pit, but his arms turned noodle-like also, and he screamed at the top of his lungs,
God, please, save me! I am sorry!
Devil. Laughing, the devil grabbed his legs and effortlessly threw him into the big, black, bottomless pit. Heed. As they say, it's better late than never, but never late is better. Change your ways today, just in case you do not live to see tomorrow. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 1. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Note, it pays to be smart. It costs to be stupid. Written by Calvin E. Jones Jr., a.k.a. Live by Low, CEO of Respect My Mind Publications. Hope you enjoyed the Mental Snacks. RMMP has plenty more coming soon. Thank you folks for tuning in to Ralph Reads. I would like, or rather love, to thank you queens and kings for stopping by. If you would like to leave a small donation or connect with me on social media, please do not hesitate to go to www.solo.to/RGMC2407. Go to YouTube and find my music channel at RGMC2407. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to both channels. Join TURN, the United Ronin Networks, for exclusive member-only content, such as the banned episodes and original unedited versions of these episodes, only if you join TURN, the United Ronin Networks. We are Ronin. Fellow royalty, pick up a good book, read a good story, and set your good self free. I appreciate you, and I love you like cooked food. I will see you folks on the next edition of Ralph Reads. Short stories, long stories, all kinds and types of stories, from the boring to the most gory. That's what I always loved about books. Those who are tuning in to hear me read, let me just tell you folks,